Today, we are going to talk about self-compassion. All right, so we want to embrace self-compassion. We want to start a journey that's going to be where we're going to be kinder to ourselves. Okay, so let's get started. Life can often feel like just a whirlwind of responsibilities and expectation and challenges. And amidst the chaos, it can be easy to forget the most important person in our life, ourselves. Now, that's not selfish, that's not self-indulgent. We need to care for ourselves. So today, let's explore the beautiful practice of self-compassion. And we're going to do that through the lens of Kristin Neff's research. And she has come up with 3 essential components to self-compassion. And those are self-kindness, common humanity, and mindfulness. So we're going to look at those 3 today. Okay, so the first one is self-kindness. How can we become our own best friend? Have you ever thought about that? Well, the reality is, I think anyway, one of, if not the most important relationship you're ever going to have in your life is with yourself. So why not learn how to be your own best friend? So imagine the way you would comfort a friend who is struggling. So if you're having an issue, a problem, how would you reach out to that friend? Well, we're likely to offer kind words, care, comfort, understanding. We're not going to tell that friend, oh, you're stupid. Oh, it was all your fault anyway. But how often do we say that to ourselves? So think about how we would treat that friend compared to how we would treat ourselves. And that's what we can learn about self-kindness. Are we as kind to ourselves as we are to our friend who is going through a difficult situation? So self-kindness means extending the same warmth and understanding to yourself that you would offer to someone that you love. It's about recognizing that you too deserve kindness, especially when things go wrong. And so instead of harsh words and self-criticism, try practicing self-compassion. And we can say things to ourselves like, it's okay to make mistakes. I'm doing the best I can. I'm trying. Those are the kinds of things that we can say to ourselves. And again, when you're in that situation, just think about, what would I be saying to my friend? Or what would I say to a family member? How would I treat a small child or a pet? How can I do that for myself? That's self-kindness. Okay? So that's the first concept that Kristin Neff has. The second one is common humanity, and this one was really helpful for me. I've been working on this whole self-compassion, self-love, self-valuing for a while now. And this is what I teach in my coaching with my coaching clients, really working on valuing and loving ourselves. But this concept of common humanity is one that I hadn't really thought about that much before. And what this is understanding that when we're going through something difficult, to realize we are not alone. Oftentimes it can feel very lonely. We sort of kind of hunker down when we're hurting, when we're in pain. And it's difficult for us to sort of look up and look around and to realize other people are going through the same thing, that we're not alone, that other people experience the same kind of pain or make the same kind of, if we've made a mistake, that other people make the same kind of mistakes that we make. So that's common humanity. We're all in this together. Now, it doesn't mean that it lessens the pain of what we've experienced, but I think it just helps us see it in a different light, and it can help reduce some of those feelings of isolation. And it can lessen the pain. It doesn't mean that what we're experiencing isn't important or doesn't matter. We're not trying to practice toxic positivity and just pretend like we're not hurting. But recognizing that other people also go through this can just help us understand ourselves and maybe offer ourselves more compassion and more kindness. Okay, so that's the second piece of Kristin Neff's three components of self-compassion. And then the third one is mindfulness. Now, mindfulness is something we hear a lot about today, and there are many different ways to practice mindfulness. And the way it's talked about with self-compassion is that we pause and we recognize that the emotions that we're experiencing, whatever has happened to us, it's going to cause us to feel certain emotions, that those emotions are not us. Okay? So being mindful is being able to kind of step back and to see the emotion sort of outside of ourselves. We recognize that something has happened to us, but it doesn't mean that it is us. So mindfulness is about being present and aware of our thoughts and feelings without judgment. It's the practice of observing our inner experience with gentleness, with accepting, and an accepting attitude. Accepting, get that word out. When we encounter pain or discomfort, our first instinct might be to avoid or to suppress it. We don't like to feel pain. Our brain doesn't want us to feel pain. Our brain wants to keep us safe and to move toward what feels good, to reward. Okay? But to be mindful is we pause and we recognize this is what I'm feeling. Maybe I'm feeling sad. Maybe I'm feeling ashamed. Maybe I'm feeling scared, but just to recognize that feeling. So being mindful means that we stay present with our experience, even if it's difficult. And, this takes time and this takes practice because it can be really hard to stick with some of those feelings, to stay with that feeling. But it's good to try and practice that. So by mindfully acknowledging our struggles, we create space for healing and growth. So it's really a good thing. We learn to accept our feelings rather than being overwhelmed by them. And how often do we want to suppress those feelings because we're afraid that we're going to be overwhelmed by them, that they will overtake us, and that, often we hear people talk about, well, if I start crying, I may never stop. The reality is that just isn't true. We can feel those feelings. They don't have to overwhelm us. And being mindful of them is one way to feel the feeling without being overwhelmed by it. It's just recognizing that it's there. So this compassionate awareness helps us to respond to ourselves with care and understanding rather than with criticism and avoidance. So that's the second component of self-compassion. That's the third component of self-compassion, to be mindful. All right, so what I want to do now is, how do we put this into practice? So we can embrace self-compassion as a practice. And like any other practice, it takes time and patience. And I want to share with you now just some simple things that you can do to help you achieve more self-compassion, to have self-compassion as a practice. Okay, so the first one, which is so important in so many things, but is just to pause and breathe. When we pause, we become aware. And that's so important. Think how often we just do things automatically and we don't even think about what we're doing. So if we can develop the practice of just pausing and then pausing and breathing. So just, mm, what am I feeling right now? That's all we need to do. And if we develop that as a practice, it will become easier to do. And then we can recognize those feelings. Oh, I'm feeling sad. Oh, I'm feeling embarrassed. And when we do that, sometimes we can even go a little deeper and say, where's that feeling coming from? Why do I feel this way? So, pausing and breathing are the first step. And let me say, too, the reason that we want to breathe is because when we feel a painful emotion, what's happening in our body is our nervous system is ramping up. So, we want to protect ourselves. But when we pause and we breathe, then we are engaging that part of our nervous system that can help calm us down. It's called the parasympathetic nervous system. And so when we breathe, it just helps calm us down. And also, breathing helps to get more oxygen to our brain. And then we can just think about things in a more thoughtful way. Okay, so first to pause and breathe. And then the next is to acknowledge that feeling. So we're going to pause, breathe, and then acknowledge that feeling and mindfully observe what we are feeling. Name that emotion, but to name it without judgment. I'm feeling afraid. It's okay to feel afraid. Everybody feels afraid. So we acknowledge that feeling without judgment. The third thing that we can do is to practice self-kindness. So first we're going to pause and breathe, calm down our central nervous system. Then we're going to acknowledge that feeling without judgment. And then we're going to be kind to ourselves. We're going to speak to ourselves with kindness and understanding. And imagine how you would speak to a friend. If a loved one or a friend was going through the same situation, how would you speak to them? And give that to yourself. So that's the third thing that we can do. And next, we can remember common humanity, that we are not alone, that other people are having these struggles and go through this. So common humanity that other people experience this. We're not alone in this feeling. So we can incorporate these steps into our daily practice. And this is really important to do. And when we do this, we can transform the way that we relate to ourselves. So we can go from being our own worst enemy to our own best friend. With self-compassion, you can become your own source of support and encouragement. And you can nurture a kinder and more compassionate attitude towards yourself. And that's going to help you become more resilient and more confident and just have a better life that you enjoy more. And let me just say that self-compassion is not about being selfish or self-indulgent. It's not about avoiding responsibility, okay? It's about treating ourselves again with the same kindness and understanding that we would offer to a friend or a loved one. And by embracing self-compassion and recognizing our common humanity and practicing mindfulness, those are those three components, we can cultivate a deep and lasting sense of compassion towards ourselves. And always remember that you are deserving of love and compassion. You are deserving of love and compassion from others, and you are also deserving of love and compassion from yourself. So be gentle with yourself and let self-compassion guide you on your journey to a happier and a healthier life. All right. Thanks so much.
Hey, friends. So, if anything I've said here today resonates with you, I'd love to visit with you. My name is Kathy Weens, and I'm a trauma recovery and women's empowerment coach. And what I love to do, my passion and my mission, is to help women find their strengths, to move beyond past trauma, whether those are big T traumas or little t traumas. All of those things in the past that kind of shape our identity today and hold us back from being who we are truly meant to be. This is what I help women with. I help women overcome people pleasing, self criticism, shame, and to go on and live their best lives. That's what it's really all about, and especially in the second half of life. If not now, when? When are we going to start doing it? When are we going to live the true, authentic life that we want to live? So if this sounds like something that would help you, please go to my website, katherinebweens.com, and get in touch with me. I would love to visit with you. All right, thanks. Bye-bye.